So we're going to make a beautiful pumpkin soup today. First thing we need to roast off is our pumpkin. So all I've done is peeled it, did a rough cut, but I've tried to keep the consistency the same size. So obviously as they cook off, they're going to cook at the same time. A little bit of olive oil, just a slight drizzle, okay? I'm going to roast those off until they're nice and caramelised in colour, just to get the flavour happening a little bit, add a little bit more oomph into the colour for our final product. The pumpkin soup we're doing the classification is a puree. So we're going to pass it, we're going to blend it with a stick blender, and then we're going to pass it through a strainer just to ensure our texture is nice and smooth. So I've got probably a medium-sized onion there that I've just done a rough dice on. We're going to sweat that off with some butter. I've also got one potato, a small potato, and that's just going to give us our thickening property to the soup. So I've just peeled that, did a rough dice as well. So again, our cooking is going to be consistent. A little bit of thyme, just to add in that little bit of flavour as well. So let's roast this pumpkin off and let's come back. So you can see I've roasted our pumpkin off nicely there. Little bit of colour, which will be great. Adds a little bit of depth of flavour. In my pot, I'm just going to melt my butter. Probably about 20-25 grams. Don't need all of that in there. Just thread some of this thyme. Just running my fingers backwards. Just remember, we're sweating this onion off, not frying it. In with our onion. Don't want any of that stem of the thyme. It's a little bit too tough and woody, just the leaves. We want to sweat these onions off till they're nice and translucent. Give us a little bit of flavour in there. Got some veg stock that we're going to add in as well. Let's add in our pumpkin. Got our potato. Let's just cover that with our veg stock. Give that a little bit more heat. Bring that to the boil, then we're going to turn it down and simmer it till all of those vegetables are nice and soft. Then we'll be able to put it through the blender and then pass it to finish it off. Okay, so we've got our pumpkin soup here. Cooked it for about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. I'm just going to puree it now with a stick blender, or you could use a robo coupe. Okay, this is our texture here before we pass it, okay? So remember, this is a puree soup. So we want to pass it to get rid of some of those lumps. Small amount at a time, a nice fine sieve. And just gently pushing it through, catches those last little bits of the thyme in there as well. Just gives us a better all over finish. Now we can adjust the consistency with a little bit more vegetable stock, hot vegetable stock if needed. We'll adjust the seasoning with some salt and pepper. A little bit of cracked black just to finish nicely. A little bit of salt. Like I said, if you're concerned about your consistency, your texture, a little bit more veg stock if it's thickened up a little bit more. If it's lost its heat too much, obviously put it back onto the stove as well and heat it up. Okay, so just to plate up, passing that soup just finishes it off really nicely. Cream in a squeezy bottle. Got some croutons here. Maybe some finely chopped chives or a little bit of fresh parsley just to finish it off. So we're doing a pizza dough next. All I've done here is sifted some flour, a little bit of sugar just to feed the yeast, and obviously a nice handful of salt. It's easy to do it on the bench, so I'm just making a little well in the centre. My water is nice and warm, so that's sort of blood temperature there. I've added my yeast in, ready to go. You can see it's starting to activate already. A little bit of milk just gives it a nice sort of mouthfeel texture. Some olive oil that will give it its crunch as well. So we're going to go in with some of our water, some of our oil. And I'm just going to use 2 fingers here just to start incorporating. Then I'm going to put that into a greased bowl, cover it with a tea towel and let it double in size before we roll it out. Okay, so our pizza dough's ready to go. Doubled in size, a little bit of flour dusted underneath, a little bit on top. It's nice, soft and pliable, and we're going to roll it out for our pizza. Now, because we're doing our pizza into canapé style, the way we arrange our toppings is what's going to make it nice and easy for us to cut it into small bite-sized pieces. So this amount of dough is probably going to give me about 3/4 of this tray here. Try and keep it in the same sort of rectangle shape if we can. We are trying to keep the same thickness. So I'll pull this tray towards me and I'll lift up, drop our dough. Make sure you give your tray a spray, stretch it out to where you want it to sit. A little bit of a Napoli base here. Try and get that as close to the edge as possible because we want to utilise as much of that pizza base. A nice even coating. A little bit of a mozzarella cheddar kind of blend just on the base. A little bit on the base that helps your toppings to stick. Again, make sure it's a nice even covering. A little bit of goat's cheese over the top. And with our cherry tomatoes, if we turn them upside down, this is where we can cut in between and give us our nice small portions for our canapes. Last, a little bit of oregano over the top. You could do some olives, you could do some prosciutto. We're going to bake that into the oven, about 200 for about probably 10 minutes. So that's taken about 10 minutes, 10 to 12 minutes, 200 degrees, nice hot oven to get our nice crisp shell. I'm not going to cut that straight away. I'm going to allow it just to set for a moment because obviously the oils and the fats out of the cheeses have actually come out. So it would be a little bit sloppy at the moment. So we just give it a moment or two. You can see with our cherry tomatoes, we're going to cut in between those and we'll end up with a nice little portion for our canapes. So we've got a beautiful veg risotto we're making. We need to sweat off some garlic and some onion in a little bit of butter and some olive oil. We're going to add in some of our other vegetables. I've got some white wine to deglaze and I've got my veggie stock here that's boiling away. We'll finish it with a little bit of parmesan and also an extra bit of butter as well. So let's get a little bit of heat in here. A little bit of olive oil. Nice bit of butter for some flavour. And like I said, we're just going to sweat that onion off. So not too much colour. Got some celery here too, some brunoise of celery. Brunoise of carrot. And then obviously we're going to use an arborio rice, which is a short grain. And then I'm going to add in my rice. You want enough oil and butter in there that each grain of that rice is going to get coated. See those grains there now? Getting a nice colour on the outside. Another minute or two and then we'll deglaze with our white wine. And we're going to let that white wine reduce into it. A little bit at a time. Let that cook till it almost absorbs all of that stock and then we'll add some more in as well. We want the rice to still have almost a little bit of density still in the middle, so still firm in the middle, but it'll soften out on the outside. Bit of cracked pepper, a little bit of salt. Now when this last lot of stock has evaporated, I'm going to have a taste just to see the density of the rice, the texture of the rice. I'm going to turn that off now because it's a copper pot. It's going to maintain its heat for a little bit with a little bit more butter, a little bit of parmesan as well. little bit more cracked black. There's a little bit of liquid still in there, that's what we want. You don't want a dry rice mixture. It should be liquidy. So this beautiful potato gnocchi dish, we've actually roasted these potatoes in the foil. You could do a dry roast, you could even do a steam, but you want them nice and dry. I've got a peeler, but I'm literally just using it to get hold of the edge of the skin and pull it off. You need to do this while they're still warm. You want the starch out of the potatoes. So just be mindful because it is very hot and potato sticks a little bit like glue when it gets on you. All right, and then through the moulie, the last little bit. So the potato's still got a fair bit of heat in there. Season it with a nice little bit of salt, a bit of cracked pepper. Add a little bit of nutmeg at this stage as well. Couple of egg yolks. I've got 3 in there, but I'm just going to put 2 in for now. And I'll break that butter up. That heat out of the butter will melt that through. I'm actually going to put a little bit of flour down here and I'm going to turn that out. Now with the flour depends on how dry your potatoes are as to how much you need in there. So I've got 200 grams here, but of course I'm not going to put the whole amount to begin with. And what we don't want to do is overwork this. So we want enough flour that's going to hold together, a little bit like a pasta dough, but we don't want too much that the little pillow parcels of potato are going to be tough and chewy. So I'm not kneading the life out of it like bread dough, just gently pulling it together. So that I don't overwork it, I'm going to divide it into little sections, because if you try and work the whole lot at once, you're more likely to get a poor product. Try and keep the pieces the same in diameter. Now I've got my pot of water on there. I'm just checking my pot of water at the moment. You need a pot of boiling salted water. Cook these off in. You can leave them just like that, in that little pillow shape, or you can give them a bit of a roll on the gnocchi paddle. Gives them a bit of a little pattern on there, and that actually allows the sauce to stick to the gnocchi. Okay, so we're going to cook our gnocchi off. Obviously our pot's boiling away there. A little bit of salt in that water as well, just like you would with a pasta. Don't overfill the pot. Now just off to the side, got a nice cream reduction sauce there, some shallots, a couple of cloves of garlic. We reduced that, we sauteed off, reduced down some white wine in that, added some stock as well, some veg stock, and then finished it with some cream. So that's just going to warm up nicely on the side. You can see they're starting to come to the surface now, and it's a good way to test if you've got enough flour in your dough mix, is just to cook off one little piece. You can give it a tiny little stir around just to make sure they come up off the bottom. Drain them really well, give that sauce a little bit more heat, and just finish with a little bit of chive. So we're going to make a beautiful flavoursome chicken consomme. I've got some chicken stock. Obviously we need about a litre and a half of chicken stock. The whole idea of consomme, it's what we call a clarified soup. So we're going to do the clarification process. We need some protein. So we've got some egg white, we've got some chicken mince, a little bit of brunoise of veg in there as well. We'll have some aromats, and I'm going to do some browned onions. So we've got a couple of onions chopped up as well. The first part we're going to make is what we call our raft. So I've got about 125 grams of chicken mince there, 1 egg white, mix that up together. And what this does, the whole process of this is this draws out all of the impurities, all of the sediment out of that chicken stock to give us a really nice full-bodied flavour soup. The brown onions is what gives it its golden brown colour, sort of that really dark colour there. So a little bit of brunoise of carrot and celery. Again, this just gives it more flavour. So it just boosts that flavour up. And we'll just sit that to the side for the moment while we brown these onions. So I've got about 1.5 to 2 large brown onions. We are doing a dry brown. So in a pot, a little bit of heat, no oil. We don't want any oil for this. So I've just roughly sliced our onions. You could use the white of the leek as well. And we literally want to brown them off. So we want to get that colour, because that's what's going to colour our consomme. Give them a little bit of a stir every now and then. We don't want a burnt onion product, or that flavour is going to go through our soup. You see they're starting to get a bit of colour now. Base of our pan starting to colour up as well. It's going to turn that down a little bit. And I'm going to start ladling some chicken stock into here. So we want about 1 litre of chicken stock for this amount. By the time it cooks out, it'll give us a nice portion or 2 portions. It's about 1 litre in there. Next thing I'm going to add is my raft mixture. Aromats too, a little bit of thyme. Got some parsley stalks there and a few peppercorns. Give that a nice big stir. We're going to turn it down. Let that come to the boil, simmer. That raft is going to start to form together, and then we'll let it simmer for a few hours. So as you can see now, we've got the raft happening. It's starting to come together, but just be mindful that you don't stir it. So we don't want to stir anymore. We're literally just leaving it, but you can see how it's come together and it's starting to suck those impurities out. Okay, so our consomme's finished. We've had it cooking there for quite a few hours. Obviously, it's a little bit different than our stocks when we can, pour our stocks into our strainers. We need to be gentle with this. We don't want to undo all of the goodness that we've done. So I'm going to use my ladle and just strain it off this way so that I don't break that raft up too much. It's got a beautiful golden colour. And just so you can see the beautiful clear colour, let's just put some into a bowl so you can get that whole picture. So if you use some muslin cloth or a chucks to pick up that last bit of sediment when you're straining it off, you'll end up with that beautiful clear picture. So next we're going to do a smoked salmon blini. So blini is like a little Russian pancake that's got basically a yeast base to it. In here I've got my flour, a little bit of salt as well, and the dry yeast. You could use a fresh yeast if you've got that on hand. Just make sure that that's mixed through really well. Then warming up, I've got some butter, some honey and some milk. I've just gently warmed that, so don't bring it to the boil, you just want to warm it. Got some buttermilk here and an egg yolk. We'll keep the egg white to whisk through at a later stage. So the other thing, a component in here is the honey. The honey acts just as a little sweetener and adds a little bit of food for the yeast to work with. Good consistency. What we're going to do is leave that to brew for about an hour. We're going to whisk our egg white, fold that through, and then the batter will be ready to cook off. So you can see that our blini mixture has kind of not doubled in size like a bread dough, but it's certainly got lots of air bubbles and it's really thickened up. So what I'm going to do is add my whisked egg white in now. That'll just thin it down slightly. And it'll give it a little bit more air as well. Okay, I've got 2 teaspoons here because I want to do nice small blinis. Could do a piping bag to get that same consistent size as well. Let's get a little bit of heat in our pan, a little bit of oil. Not too much heat though. We don't want to burn these. And I'm using my other spoon just to push it off. Now just like a pancake, we'll see some bubbles start to appear. We want to get a nice little bit of brown colour before we turn them over. Don't overcrowd your pan or you're not going to have room to flip them. Don't squish them down, just let them rise up, cook off. Let your pan cool a little bit. Let them cool down slightly before you put your mascarpone and your smoked salmon on top. So we're just going to make our little mascarpone filling. A little bit of lemon juice in there, a little bit of salt, nice bit of cracked. Just give that a little stir around. You could do a little bit of dill, just make sure it's nice and finely cut up. Now what we'd like to do is get some nice little quenelles happening. So I'm just pushing it down as I turn my spoons. And you should end up with 3 even sides. Nice little salmon roll here. Just a small piece. Because remember, these are 1 to 2 mouthfuls. The mascarpone is firm enough that it holds the salmon, should hold the salmon in place. Tiny sprig of dill to finish.